Good afternoon. How are you doing? Afternoon, Ian, Peter, Monkey, Fletch, Kennelly, JC, Amy, Marco, David, Virginia, Philip, and Julio. Julio, even. Afternoon. How are we doing? So, somebody asked me for a change to the stock index Hedge EA a couple of days ago. And I said, I'll have a look into it, which is basically adding the ability to risk an amount of fixed money instead of a percentage risk on your account. Can't remember who it was. But I've spent all day battling with code. Thank you. I'm exhausted. I've got a problem. And I've finally figured out what it was after about 4 hours of going backwards and forwards. But anyway. That's my morning. So hopefully this will be a short session this afternoon because I just really can't be asked. Afternoon, Zibani. Sub-Saharan Africa. Blimey. So DAX this morning, there was no stock index hedge automated trade because the ranges were too small. The pre-market range was too small this morning. The post-market 5-minute cash balance range was too small this morning. So I took a manual trade today. You're in the live room. Got hedged on it. We had a really whippy open. It literally whipped and whipped and whipped and then decided to break. So I looked to get out when we pushed down to 4R, which was a previous support, which I exited at. Got triggered on a pending long. And then we pushed down again and sat there for a good half an hour. And then we had the earnings release for, we had Citi, who do we have today? We had loads. We had Citibank, Citigroup, we had Wells Fargo, JP Morgan. So basically all these earnings came out: BlackRock, Citi, Morgan, United Health, Wells, and the market rallied off of it. So added a second entry as soon as we saw that rally come in and exited there. If you didn't get the exit there, which I posted in Telegram, you triple bottomed and hopefully you got out now. But so banked. Oh, it doesn't show, does it? Because it wasn't taken with the EA. But I banked $800 this morning. It was painful. So yeah, not great session this morning for the DAX. It's all right, but it wasn't great. Afternoon, Spencer, Neo, Antoine, sunny Cape Town. Blimey. Thank Crunchy, it's Friday. Exactly, Colonel Pinecone. I'm very crunchy, it's Friday myself. This morning I banked just under 1% on oil. Is that all I've banked today? Yeah. So banked oil this morning. So yesterday I got out of the second oil position. Took one there. Second one was taken there on the gap fill. It pushed back down again, so I added that position back on again for the gap fill again, and we've rallied this morning. We hit ADR, so I took it off at ADR. Still got that one position on, and I'm going to add a second position as we rally up to that $100 barrel target. But yeah, so banked another % on that today. So oil's been doing good this week, 12% this week. Stuck on this pound US again. This US dollar's doing my head in. Really, really just can't give up the ghost, can it? It really does not want to give up. So hopefully we get negative Michigan figures this afternoon. Harker's been speaking this morning. Basically, I see steady disinflation with it falling below 3% this year. So all this is just bearish. But the dollar just won't give up. It's just being so stubborn at the moment. So, we just need some seriously bad news to come along. But it's not coming. Lagarde is speaking at the moment. Harker is still speaking at the moment. So we've got talking heads going on at the minute. They started at 2 o'clock. They're still speaking. It's 25 past. So we might have the odd bit and piece of come through from that. But the main news this afternoon is University of Michigan at 3 o'clock, which can be sometimes massively volatile. Other times it does absolutely nothing. So we'll see where we go with that one. Other than that, no other news this morning to look at. ADRs today, we've got a couple of ADRs. Oil is obviously the main one. So we've had a big hit on oil, 125 ADR. We're coming off of the highs of the gap up. So we'll get a pullback and hopefully a continuation rally on that. The other one we've had is Aussie New Zealand. That one hit this morning. You had a 5-minute reversal alert on that this morning off of ADR, which was there. And then we literally went sideways for the whole session. It's just popped up and put a new M pattern in at the top there. So you're just about to get a second reversal alert, pretty much the same place as the first. And you've got pound Swiss. It's the only other ADR today. That's coming down at a rate of knots. So the pound, as you can see, not having a good day. The US dollar not having a bad day, hence the pound US dollar coming down quite hard. So the pound Swiss basically really, really strong Swiss franc move again. We've had multiple days of strong Swiss franc. So potentially you've got an entry there, but it's going to be obviously all the way back up there. Euro Swiss has just hit ADR as well. So looks like the Swiss franc is pushing the euro down. Okay. So that's another ADR hit. So you've got another entry there. So big moves on the Swiss franc at the moment. What's that? Don't know what that was. Seems to have moved stuff around somehow. There we go. So looking at the US indices, market's going to open in 1 minute. So today, obviously, we've had that big down day yesterday on the US rally. We are starting to recover some of that. As I said, I'm expecting a V-shaped recovery on this US move. It's just taking its sweet time to do it in a minute, but it is trying. But the US just does not want to give up at the moment. So for the US indices, the Dow Jones upside potential today is yesterday's high. So there's your first resistance to the upside. Downside will be yesterday's low, which it usually is. Then we've got this big propulsion gap caused by the news, which we bought out of. So yesterday's low and yesterday's high, equidistant moves. So plenty of room on the Dow. The S&P, pretty much the same. Yesterday's high and yesterday's low, because it was quite a big move. We're sitting in the middle. So watch for bounces at those levels today. And the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's had everything's had a bit of a rally basically off of the earnings. So we've already tapped into yesterday's low there. We've got yesterday's high. So it'll be a double bottom on the NASDAQ, and upside is yesterday's high. So we'll see where we go with these guys today. Fair bit of movement pre-market, as you can see. So we might have a bit of a quiet open, a bit of a whippy open. Ranges look pretty tight to me. Yeah, very tight. So not taking any pre-market trades today. Range is very, very, very tight here. Look. So yeah, too small for me. We are getting some decent rallies though. So they are buying up. This is what you would expect off of positive earnings. So we've had positive earnings pretty much across the board on all of those today. So the market's going to want to buy stock. Obviously, there we go. So if you did take the pre-markets today, well done. You're out already and done. So see you later. Bye. I didn't, so I'm here. But if you did, you've gone home. There you go. So targets hit across the board off those pre-market ranges. But yeah, I didn't take them. So there you go. We'll wait and see if the 5-minute candles are opening too big or in the right area, and then we'll maybe take a trade off of those today. There's a few RSIs to look at as well. Got into a load, if you weren't here in the live room this morning, got into about 6 or 7 new positions yesterday. So lots of exposure on now. All these ones which are singles, basically, most of these were taken yesterday. because obviously we had all those RSI extensions off of the US move yesterday, and we've had a lot of movement across the board. So lots of exposure on now, which is good. A lot of these RSIs that were lit up this morning have kind of undone. So we've started to go into profit on them already. So we're just waiting, basically, see what happens over the next couple of days with those. But obviously Michigan this afternoon might move the market. So, but there's those 4-hour RSI extensions, which we'll have a look at in a minute as well. And we'll have a look at these hourlies. But all the hourlies are New Zealand. Yeah, so as we know, we had that massive drop on the New Zealand dollar. So everything's rallied against that. So lots of nice New Zealand dollar entries, which I'm already in, still continuing to come down today. So looking to take second positions on some of those today. But we'll have a look at them in a minute. Let's wait for this 5-minute opening range to go in. Afternoon, Spencer, Neo, Antoine, Cape Town. I've already said that, haven't I? Afternoon, Sarah, Brian. Friday the 13th. Good skull. Good afternoon, Pot Geiter. Very official. Afternoon, Gregors. David. Big move on gold today. Yeah, US dollar's moving, so gold will go the opposite way. XR update.news. Afternoon. So gold, obviously, US dollar dropping. No, that's not right. Oh, yeah. 225 on gold. Weird. Don't know what that's all about. Yeah. That's totally the opposite to what you would normally expect. You would typically look at the US dollar and the gold goes the opposite way. So yeah, don't know what that is. This is exactly why I don't trade it. Totally, why? Out of nowhere, just moves. Crazy beastie. Could it be the wars? Okay. Could be. Gold's a little bit difficult at the moment, just because of what's going on with Russia. So we've still got the situation where a lot of the gold is stored in Russia. It's all held there. There's an import-export ban pretty much worldwide on Russian gold. So the supply is restricted, which means obviously prices will be going up. But for a move that's 225 ADR out the blue, you would expect there is some serious amount of money has just been pumped into gold. But if something's going in, it has to come out of somewhere. So where's it come from? Yeah, so you can't just magic a load of money from nowhere and pop it into gold. It's got to come out of either an FX pair or a stock to get in there, hasn't it? So we haven't had a 225 ADR move on anything else to counter that move. So this is the thing with gold. This is why I stopped trading gold, because of these ridiculous moves that just, they just come out of the blue. It's just weird. I don't quite know why. Lovely for intraday trading, but that's a news event. Look, well, it's not a news event, is it? But that's 12 o'clock. That's exactly when the stock news came out on Citi. No, was it Citi? Who released at 12? JP Morgan released at 12. Gold spiked when JP Morgan announced their earnings. Quite what JP Morgan's got to do with gold, I don't know. But yeah, don't know. Good mean reversion opportunity though, 225 ADR. So 125 that happened. Totally just, someone somewhere bought a crap load of gold for some reason. Okay, short on the NASDAQ. Dow Jones range gone from being far too small to way too big. Yeah. So that's about 25% of its average daily range just gone in there. That's too big to trade. Short on the NASDAQ, though. NASDAQ range was perfect. So short NAS, S&P still an inside bar at the moment. So short on the NASDAQ. See if we can get a move on this NAS. Dow going long, NASDAQ going short. Lots of divergence across the board today. Obviously, the Dow's the one that's going to benefit the most out of the stock earnings today because none of these are tech stocks. They're banking, basically, most of it, isn't it? So that's Dow Jones and S&P. So we'll see where we go on the S&P. Not going anywhere at the moment. Check Brent. Haven't got Brent. Oh, no, I have got Brent. I've got Brent, didn't I? Yeah, there I have. Brent's coming down. That's interesting. Look at the divergence on those two. Brent down, West Texan up. Good. Thought oil was oil. Oh, hello. No, sorry. Scrap that. Terminal froze. That's because I haven't checked Brent for ages because I don't trade it. But yeah, we're coming down, obviously, at the moment. We're just pulling back on oil. Wait for that chart to update at some point in the next 10 years. Still not in the S&P. Nearly got triggered on a short, but not quite. Yeah. Afternoon, Tammy. Still good horse racing on. Okay, fine. Go horse racing then, Colonel Pinecone. Are the markets that boring today? Right, there we go. There's Brent updated. So I was going to say, it's really weird if Brent wasn't doing the same as West Texas because basically it's the same product. So you usually find the price action is the same. So there you go. So it's all the same stuff, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, coming down. Gone long. Still long. Waiting for a pullback. So if you want to get in, wait for that and get in. Or just take a break of that high. Right, S&P long. So long on the S&P, short on the NASDAQ, which means I'm stuffed today because I'm hedged technically because these two will go the same direction. So unlikely I'll hit TP on one without the other getting triggered into a hedge. So I'm going to get one TP, one hedge. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, two hedges today. We'll see where we go. So S&P's rallying, which will obviously take the NASDAQ with it. The Dow is coming up to resistance, which is an old low from a few weeks ago. It's pretty much random level, so ignore that one. So yeah, yesterday's high is what we're looking at today. Yeah, so we're just coming up to yesterday's high now, which is about 1.5 hour on that 5-minute opening range. So if you are taking the 5-minute opening, I mean, if you've taken the pre-market, you should if you're not out by now, you are definitely protecting it, obviously, aren't you? But if you are on the 5-minute opening range break, might want to look at taking a little bit off yesterday's high just in case. Bit of a whippy open again on the NASDAQ and the S&P. Come back to them in a minute. Right, let's look at these RSIs. So we'll whiz through the 4 hours first because there's only 3 to look at. We've got the Aussie dollar Swiss, we've got the Euro New Zealand, and we've got the Pound New Zealand. Everything else then is New Zealand dollar based, and all of those are extended on the 4 hour and the hourly. So we'll look at those in a bit more detail. But Aussie dollar Swiss is a 4 hour RSI extension. So nice move to the downside there. I've got 3 on this. So first entry was back here, which was the H1M5 mean reversion entry. We literally then went sideways for an entire week, had a little gap down, pushed back up, sat there for another half of a week. And then we've had 3 solid days of collapse on the Australasian pairs. So the Aussie and the New Zealand just disappeared literally for 3 days. So we're down at a decent level now from the 4 hour RSI. You can see we're down to the 20 level. So really good extension. That's the last time we had a 20 extension. The time before that was there. So we are here now looking for a pullback up into there. So your obvious TP to the upside on this one is going to be this area here, which is the support level we found. And then we came back, we tapped into that. The buyers tried to add back in and then they got run over. So this previous support will act as resistance on the way back. So looking for a 50% retracement. Obviously, it depends when it goes. But so, yeah, got 3 positions on that at the moment. Average at ADR, looking for a pullback at some point. We've got the Euro New Zealand. Again, that'll be the opposite. That'll be extended to the upside because it's the New Zealand dollar that's been weak. So the euro has been taking advantage. Nice 3-bar reversal going in there at the moment at resistance. This is a tricky one. We looked at this morning. We've broken through that resistance there, but it's rejected. So this will either now put an M pattern in on the lower time frame like the H1. We've got the reversal alert there. Look, so there's your, it's not very clean today, obviously, but there's your M pattern. But we're still kind of sitting around there. So that could be the trigger. I'm looking for a propulsion gap fill, which is there, which is 50% of the move. On the 4 hour, obviously, we're just looking at a rejection of that high. If it does continue up and we get continued weakness on the New Zealand dollar, obviously will be further extended. And then we're looking for that level there, potentially, which is 150% of ADR today. And then coming back up into that area, which was the previous support turned resistance. So that propulsion gap will be the next test. So 150 and then about 250 ADR to the upside shorts. So if you're getting in here or where I am here, I'll be adding a position there, and get out when they profit take that move. Pound New Zealand, same as the Euro New Zealand pretty much. So exactly the same plan. I'm short on this one already. Got a TP at 50% retracement. So if it does reject this high, and that's just as a sort of a poke out the top, and we're going to continue to the downside, can't really see any fundamental reason why we should, but the pound is obviously being trampled at the moment. So looking for a 50% retracement on that move. So M5 reversal alert has just triggered this morning. Yeah, so that was your entry this morning. I took an entry there, and then we just sort of flip-flopped around for the rest of Asia. And that's where your reverse alert was this morning and your retest. For that to continue down. So that's all your 4 hours. So that's extended on the 4 hours as well. So all of these New Zealand pairs, literally every single New Zealand pair is extended on the 4 hour. Yeah. So we know we've had a big drop. Yeah. On the New Zealand dollar. So it's come down really hard for 3 days solid. So all of these basically are extended on the 4 hour. They're all good mean reversion opportunities. If you look at them all on the hourly, every single one of them on the hourly is embedded and extended below the 25 or the 20 level on the RSI. So these are all hugely extended to the downside, every single one. So you can take any of these or all of them or whatever you want to do with these. Obviously, watch exposure. You don't want to get exposed too much depending on the risk that you're using. So bear with me a sec. So yeah, all massively extended. So I've got trades on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, the New Zealand dollar, Swiss, and the New Zealand dollar CAD. So first entries were taken yesterday on these, obviously because that's the first proper extension that we got. And today, just still collapsing, this New Zealand dollar and the Aussie dollar. We looked at this morning as to why this New Zealand dollar's had such a bad run. Can't see any real reason apart from what's happening with China. China's figures coming out as slightly negative, and obviously with the New Zealand and the Aussies being big exporters to China, it could be that the New Zealand dollar's dropping on expected GDP drop, which it will be restricted exports to China. But that's kind of speculative. So it's kind of the sell the rumor, buy the news type thing. So these moves that we're getting coming in now are maybe preliminary moves, as in we're expecting something, and if it doesn't happen, it'll all just completely unwind. So we'll see what happens with these. But first entries on all of those. So New Zealand dollar, US dollar in there. New Zealand dollar, Swiss in there. So I'll be adding a second position onto this one today. We haven't had a reversal alert all day. Look at this. So that's dropped over an ADR without giving a reversal alert. It's just a slow, steady drop. Actually, it did give one. No, it didn't. Yeah. So I'll be getting in as soon as we get some bull price action. I'm in with a second position on New Zealand dollar Swiss. And New Zealand dollar CAD, first entry there. Same for the New Zealand dollar CAD. I'll be getting into another position as soon as we get that reversal alert there. So looking for second entries on those. 65. Oh no, I won't get that. That's too close. That's only 40, so that's not even, it's just over half an ADR that, so I won't be taking an entry on that. That's too close to the first entry. So that will need to come down a little bit further for me to get a second. Ideally, a nice ADR hit today at double bottom. That's where I'll get in with a second, get the average in, and then get out in that propulsion gap. So there you go. There's your RSIs. ADRs we've obviously covered already. Indices, not interested. Very quiet. So that initial rally that we had, all completely gone. Look at the NASDAQ. Big wick up, big wick down, big wick up, big wick down. We are going nowhere. Just waiting. We're probably waiting for University of Michigan. So 3 o'clock, UOM comes out. Still don't know why the market pays any attention to these 500 people they survey in a university, but they do. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Could go anywhere, couldn't it? So we'll see what happens on that. But that's it. That's news over for the day. So hopefully UOM will start a move off, which we'll just get a continuation of throughout the rest of the day. But at the minute, unless you took the Dow pre-market, not exactly going anywhere, are we? So anybody got any other pairs they want to look at? Some of these New Zealand dollar longs are happening in a daily downtrend as it's coming off peak. Don't know. Looked. They are. Where you say this is in a downtrend, I say this is a market structure break to the upside. Could be either. Which one is it? I don't know. We'll find out in a week. Doesn't matter, does it? There's a video on the website about mean reverting in a trend. When it loads, it's going to be the very last one, isn't it? No? There you go. Mean reversion versus trend trading. Yeah. So that video just explains why it doesn't matter if something is trending. If you go counter trend, like we are here, yeah, don't forget the whole purpose. If you want to stay in trend, that's absolutely fine. There's a strategy on the website for staying in trend, and there's a set file for staying in trend. This is why the Market Reverse Alerts EA has trend filters, so that you can stay in line with the trend if you want to. But trends come to an end, and during a trend, it pulls back constantly. So this is trending down, pull back, trend 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 down, pull back. What are we trading? Pullbacks. Doesn't matter if it's coming down, as long as it comes down in market structure. Every single one of these is a profit. Every single one of those is a profit if you want to stay in line with the trend. So it doesn't matter, does it? However, that's going to do that, and you're just going to take shorts, we're going into drawdown. It's the whole point of position trading. I haven't got a clue if it's going up or it's going down. I have no idea. The fundamentals say that it should continue to go down at the moment because of oil, because the Canadian dollar will strengthen on that. But there is also no fundamentals that say the New Zealand dollar should be dramatically reducing in value. So this could be a fake move, in which case we're going to get a V-shaped recovery. Doesn't matter, does it? I'm long, other people are short, and as long as this does that, before it does that, I'll be out in a profit, and if you're short, you'll be out in a profit. I don't know. We never know which way it's going. Pound CAD. The only time I would stay in line with the trend is if there is a fundamental reason to be in line with the trend. So if you look at the bias scorecard, if there's something that is 100%, you do not want to be buying or selling this in the opposite direction, like the pound US dollar at the moment. That's the only reason. But if you look at something like the New Zealand dollar CAD at the moment, it's zero, totally range bound. Yeah, the hot bias is pretty much flat, ever so slightly in favor of the New Zealand dollar. At the moment, it's a -2 from the retail perspective, because the retail are all longing it. Yeah, so which means it's more likely to come down for a short period of time. There is no fundamental advantage either way. It doesn't matter. Things that are zeros on here just mean there's no fundamental reason to be buying it or selling it. It doesn't mean it can't just continue to trend all year. But that trend will be caused by momentum, not because the New Zealand dollar's economy is crap, the CAD's economy is amazing, anything like that. There's no fundamental advantage. It's got to go one way or the other a lot of the time. But same as this pound CAD. This is all about oil at the minute. Yeah. And the pound's had a bad run of news, but this is all about oil at the minute. Oil is incredibly strong. So yeah, pound CAD. So yeah, it's at the minute I've got nothing on the pound CAD. as you can see, we're stuck sideways at the minute. We have been for basically just over a week. So last entries I had on this were longs from back here. So I got out of all these longs. Since I did, we've just literally gone nowhere. So potentially we're looking for a continuation down. And again, Canadian dollar strong at the moment. Pound not strong at the moment. So in theory, this should be coming down, but it's not at the minute. So no real reason to get in this at all at the moment. It's just sitting there waiting to do something. So we've had the pullback, the profit take move. Yeah, and if it wants to continue down, that's fine. I will just get in long again when we get down towards this low. But there's nothing exciting going on with that one at all at the moment. It's stuck. You have mentioned the other day you having an idea about try to build a hedge into mean reversion. Build hedge into mean reversion strategy. No. Not into a mean reversion strategy, no. Just into I'm looking into hedging in more detail, that's all. Not specifically. I mean, hedging, you hedge when you're wrong on a trade. How you get into that trade is totally irrelevant. If you flip a coin and go long on a head and it goes up, happy days. If it goes down, you hedge. Doesn't matter how you get in. Literally, you get in anytime you like with hedging. You just get in when there's a candlestick that goes bullish more than half of what the previous candlestick was. Get in on that. Doesn't matter, does it? The whole idea of hedging is we don't know which way the market's going. So you pick a coin, you flip a coin, you go in a direction, and then you wait. See if you need to hedge it or not. And then once you're in the hedge, you just wait for the hedge to unfold. So it's not specifically to do with mean reversion as such, but you need a signal to get in. So you could use a mean reversion. So you could use an RSI extension or something like that, maybe. But yeah, I've got an EA that's sort of half in development at the moment, which I'm playing with and just looking at various models for hedging. I do manually some hedging, but it is difficult to manage. More to cover drawdown. Yeah, well, that's all. That's what hedging is. You know, this is what we did this. You know, with the DAX today, and what I'm probably going to do with the S&P. We've got 1 minute to we've got literally 1 minute to the news. But that's what this trade was. Yeah, so you know, we saw that range. I went along with momentum. That didn't work out. It broke short, so I went short. Now we sit there. We wait. The reason for that, and that is entirely up to you, isn't it? Really. But the problem with hedging is it is difficult to manage, as you've said. So this is why I don't hedge with my position trading, with portfolio trading, because it is difficult to manage. Every time you get out of a hedge, you have to have a reason to get out of one part of that hedge. If it then goes back the other way, you have to re-hedge yourself. So what you end up doing is if you get it wrong over and over and over again, you just stay in hedges for literally weeks and weeks. This looks like positive US news. Looks like we got a positive result on the Michigan numbers, which I'm just waiting to come through. Um, 3.8 on a forecast of 3.2, so positive. 63 off of 67, negative. Sorry, that's negative. That was the wrong number I was looking at. 63, so it's negative. What the hell's all this lot? Pass. Don't know what that lot is. The rest of that. I was just saying, exchange fire near the Israeli-Lebanon border. Hezbollah are getting involved. This is going to escalate by the looks of things in Israel. So, what's your oil? Oil's probably going to rally. Right, so hedged on the S&P. Thought that was going to happen. Market's not going anywhere today. This thing can't make its mind up. Unfortunately, now, because that's negative news, we're probably going to get a drop in the US, which means the indices are going to rise, which means I'll get hedged on both of these today, probably. See where we go. John says, hold my beer on the NAS. Yeah. Might go short. Not going anywhere at the minute, is it? How far down do you think the NAS will go? So yesterday's low is the initial target today. So if it does break short, you're going to find limit order triggers down here. So that's where I would look for an exit. This thing can't make up its mind at all today, though. Look, I mean, we're just not going anywhere, are we? So, yeah. And then, I mean, the answer to that question is going to be exactly the same every day you ask it. ADR. Yeah. So where's the market going today? Where it on average goes, its average daily range. Yeah, it's the same every day. On average, it moves that far. So if it's going to go down, there's a good chance on average it's going to get there. 58% of the time, the market spends within its average daily range. So 58% of the time, we won't hit that line. Yeah. 42% of the time, we will hit that line. But then when we get beyond that line, the odds of it going further dramatically reduce, which is what the ADR indicator is there for. That's what the ADR indicator shows you. That's ADR for oil. Yeah. Look what happens when we get to ADR. Yeah, we run out of steam because on average, that's what it does. Yeah. When it's not doing its normal thing, it will extend beyond its average daily range. That will take a news event or something special to move it beyond that level. Otherwise, this is what ADR is all about. When you get to ADR, you want to be looking for mean reversion opportunities, like on the pound Swiss. Yeah. So we're 125% of our normal range. We only exceed that 23% of the time. So there's a 75% or 77% chance it won't go much further than that. Because if it does, there's only a 12% chance we'll hit 150. And there's only a 6% chance we'll hit 175. So when you get down to these sorts of levels, if you're short, you want to be getting out. If you're not short, you want to be thinking about getting in. So it's always the same answer. Where's it going? Where if it goes up, it's probably not going to get much further than that. Yesterday's high or ADR. If it's going down, it's probably not going to get much further than yesterday's low or ADR. Support and resistance. That is what the market uses. Bear with me one sec. Not really going anywhere. So hedge on the DAX, sorry, the S&P. So hopefully what I'm hoping today is now we're going to get a drop. So plan today, if we can drop this down and I can get a nice profit off of this one. I've banked $800 on that this morning, something like that. Yeah, banked $850 on that one this morning. So if I can get this to cover that hedge, I will probably just take that, close that, and then walk away with the 800 today. See what happens. But safe havens for the weekend? What do you mean? What do you mean safe havens for the weekend? Am I going to a safe haven for the weekend? I'm not going anywhere. Gold, Swiss, etc. Oh, I see. Maybe. I mean, they're not exactly running for the hills on the Swiss franc, are they? Swissie's not really going anywhere. We got a little bit of power coming into the Swiss, but not a lot. That's euro dropping. That's euro weakness we're seeing on that one. And the pound is obviously weakened today. A little bit of strength coming in, but then again, this is New Zealand dollar weakness, so it's a little bit. But that gold move, yeah, I mean, that might be. The thing is, where's that coming from? Yeah, when you get a 225 ADR hit on something, typically you get a 225 ADR hit on something else, because to get something moved that far, you've got to pull money out of something. Yeah, it's like if you want to go and buy a car, you've got to pull the money out of the bank to give it to the car dealer. Yeah, if you're going to put money into gold, where are you getting it from? Where's it coming from? Crypto crashing? Don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, that gold move. Silver's had a rally as well. So it's basically someone somewhere is buying metals. Someone somewhere is buying metals, but I don't quite know what the move is really. But very bad news came out. Very bad news came out. What am I waiting for? Where's the bad news? What have I missed? Do you mean the University of Michigan? That's not bad news. That's a survey of 500 people in a university. That's not very bad news. That's 500 people's opinion on what's going to happen with the US dollar moving forward. It's nothing. It's just a completely random news event. With all the new positions overnight, hopefully it's the start of some volatilities next week. I hope so. The thing that's worrying me at the moment is we've come out of August, which was hideously contracted. We went into September, which is more contracted than August. Now we've got into October. We haven't really gone any more into volatility, and it all starts to slow down at the end of November. So literally we've got 6 weeks before we get back into a slow period like we've just come out of with the summer trading, except we haven't come out of summer trading yet. Volatility is still contracted, so it's a bit of a tricky situation at the moment. The market's just not volatile. It's just not volatile at the moment. We are seeing very tight opens in the stock indices, very whippy movement. All the FX pairs are either grinding constantly or just not going anywhere. It's just bizarre at the moment. Just bizarre. Bad news for the NASDAQ with Microsoft's tax penalty. It hasn't made the news, so I mean, Microsoft won't make that much difference to the NASDAQ. Just give me a list of the NASDAQ, for God's sake. Thank you. Where's the one with the weighting? Who's got the last NASDAQ? There we go. So if you look at the Microsoft weighting, Microsoft makes up roughly 10% of the NASDAQ movement. Yeah, but it's a very thick liquid stock. Today, stock's up. Yeah, so the NASDAQ's not going to drop because Microsoft have got a penalty, because Microsoft stock is rising. But it's not. The reason this is coming down is because the US dollar movement. Pound Swiss, we just got an ADR, I think. 125 is now hit. So there is more money running into this Swissy. So it does look like they're potentially running into the Swiss at the minute. What's the yen doing? Not a lot. Much. Okay, NASDAQ's broken down. S&P's breaking down. DAX has broken down. DAX is going for a new session low. So DAX quadruple bottom. Very up and down today, isn't it? David, I enjoy watching how you turn a 15% loss last month on the H1M5. It wasn't a 15% loss, David. It was an 8% loss, not 15, into a 10% profit so far this month. Shows us all how to emotionally deal with a losing month. Yeah. You're going to get them. You're not going to win every month. Last month was 8%. 8%. Eight and a half. Last month. Look, there's the CAD Swiss, look. There's the CAD Swiss at the end of September. So that's 63. No, 67,430 we're at. 67,430. I can't. CAD Swiss. So that's where we were when that screenshot was taken. That's where we are now. That's the bounce point I identified as the turning point at resistance. But yeah, you're going to get losing months. It was 15 at one point. Yeah, I mean, I was down 15. Euro Swiss 125. Yeah, big sell-off going on. Big move in the Swissy. The yen's powering up as well, look. So this Swiss franc is driving everything down, but we're not moving on the Swiss yen, which means that the yen's got some strength as well. Euro Swiss 125 of its weekly range just hit. Big move, trying to come in on the Swiss. Just seeing what the euro's doing. I just wanted to see if the euro and the pound were dropping. New Zealand dollar Swiss ADR. So this is all Swiss franc. So yeah, it does look like there's a safe haven run going on at the moment. Probably because of that Hezbollah exchange near the Israeli-Lebanon border. The one thing that everybody did not want to do was to get Hezbollah involved, because if Hezbollah get involved, that is immediately expanded that conflict all the way up that coast. And the only way for that to go now is to spread out into Saudi and into the neighboring countries. So the fact that Hezbollah are now getting involved and attacking Israel means that we're in a sticky situation with the US, because the vast majority of the world regards the Palestinians and Hamas specifically as a terrorist organization. So the fact that they are attacking Israel means that we can attack the terrorists on behalf of Israel. When Lebanon get involved, that's not a terrorist state. So now we have Israel being attacked by another nation. So that causes a massive problem for NATO and the rest of the world, because now do we get involved in Israel? And if we do attack Lebanon, what happens with the Saudis? Who's backing Lebanon up? And all of a sudden it starts to escalate. So now you have a conflict in the Middle East. You've got a conflict in Europe. It all gets worse from there. So money tends to fly out of everything into things like gold, Swiss franc, yen. When we have a a massive fear in the market. So that's basically what we're seeing at the moment. As it de-escalates, it all just goes back in the opposite direction. So could well be a safe haven run, as somebody just pointed out. Looks that way at the minute. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, yeah, you're going to get bad months. So I was 15% down third week of September and pulled back half of that in the last week, didn't I? Because all the moves started to, so that the main thing was that pound US dollar move. So that was, there you go. So there's the 26th of September. So that move there was where all the drawdowns started to vanish, and all the aggressive drawdown controls that I had on positions all started to play out, which reduced that loss down. But like, as you say, yeah, 12% banked this month, but obviously still got drawdown on. But again, it's just this bloody pound US dollar. Every time I had an exit on this at break even this week. Well, it wasn't actually. It was I was negative 1%, I think it was, after I took those positions off there, and we got up and I was negative 1%. I was like, shall I? Shan't I? If I had have, that wouldn't be that now, but I didn't. So I've got 12% profit though, so I can just basically shut this down, walk away and go, screw you, and take 8% right now. So I'm not particularly worried about it, but I will be if this pound continues to weaken and this bloody US dollar doesn't give up the ghost. We will see. At the moment, I want the US dollar to rally because I want this down here. And then I can shut this lot down and go away and have my weekend. But we'll see. Here we go. Aren't the Aussie and New Zealand seen as safe currencies to store? Not really, no. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I guess at the moment, yes, they probably are. Actually, you're probably right, because they're the most detracted from conflict at the minute, aren't they? So the Aussie and the New Zealand islands out in the middle of nowhere on their own, away from everything. They're not going to get involved in the Middle East situation. They have no dealings with it. They're not having any dealings with Russia. So at the moment, if you want to put your money somewhere, it's probably a pretty safe place to put it, isn't it? But they're not traditional safe havens. So, but that doesn't mean that the world will not start to see them as such because of what is going on. So if you've got conflict going on in areas where you would normally stick a safe haven currency. So for example, if the Swiss suddenly got dragged into the conflict in Russia, NATO fly in, for example, and it all kicks off over there, the Swiss franc is probably going to be less reliable for you to place your funds, isn't it? So you'll probably pull it out of there and put it into somewhere else. But this is the trouble at the moment. Where do you put it? You're not going to stick it in the US, are you? You're not going to stick it in the pound, and you're certainly not going to stick it in the euro. So what are you left with? Aussie, New Zealand, and yen. What are we waiting for? A massive yen buying rally. So if it kicks off anywhere with the US, it's going to come out and fly into the yen, and that intervention won't be needed anymore that we're waiting for. So, you know, there's all sorts of stuff that could happen, but the problem with forecasting things like that is this is why you get a lot of movement which goes like that, and then it undoes the whole thing. So you get these big, fast rallies, and then they completely undo themselves because it's panic, and then it's like realization that it's not required. And you go back to business as normal for a bit, and then there's a panic, and then you come back to business as normal. Price discovery. So yeah. In a minute, who knows? EuroCAD, ADR. So this euro is being pounded. Or is that Canadian dollar rallying? This is a Canadian dollar rally going on at the moment. So the Canadian dollar is rallying hard at the moment. Yeah, everything is coming down against the Canadian dollar. Look how strong that US dollar is. Everything is being killed by the Canadian dollar at the moment, and the US dollar is killing the CAD. Shows you how strong this US dollar move is. There's a massive move going on the US. And the Swiss franc, yeah, massive move on the US, massive move on the Swiss franc equals no movement on the US dollar Swiss. A lot of movement going on off the back of that news from Michigan. This isn't off the back of that news. They're not doing all of this movement because 500 people have decided that they're not as confident in the US as they were before. It's just they're using the news basically to move the market and to execute funds. So Macklem is talking at the moment as well. Continue to face geopolitical shocks. Not really seeing downward momentum in underlying inflation, which means they're going to put interest rates up, which rallies the Canadian dollar. We're seeing clear signs monetary policy is working to rebalance supply and demand, but inflation is still too high. Bullish CAD. Bond yields are not a substitute for doing what needs to be done. We'll focus on whether to stick with its 5% rate or more action is needed. Longer run inflation expectations remain well anchored. So yeah, basically bullish talk coming out of Macklem. And obviously run to the safe havens on. Big moves. Big moves get unwound just as fast. So scale in, scale out. Still holding on the NAS. So if we get to here, I'm going to close the entire NASDAQ position out. I'm not going to hold for a runner today. I'm just going to close that out because that pays for that and then I can take that home. But we got to get there first. Oh, hold on. Gold's starting another little bit of a rally. So this just shows you, right? We've got a run on the US at the moment. Typically, gold does the opposite. So you can see how strong this move is in gold, because normally when you get a rally in the US, gold comes down, obviously, because it's a US dollar cross. So if that gets strong, that gets weak. The fact that this is rallying with gold just shows you how much they're buying this at the minute. So there is a big run going into gold, into metals at the moment. It's worrying because it means probably central bank and central government are doing this because it's not coming from anywhere, is it? It's not institutional buying. This is being bought by someone else. So it's got to be central bank or government purchases, which is fear, basically. Worried. Stick it somewhere that's a lot safer, something tangible that is not going to move. So yeah, it could be a big move. In which case this could be a big drop-off today. But not for me. I'm going to go and do other things. I've got to go and get my hair cut. So if the NASDAQ drops another 17 points, I shall go and get my hair cut. If it doesn't, I shall grow it. There's an incentive for the NASDAQ to drop because it's looking pretty bad, isn't it? Look at these sideburns. Not good. I'm starting to look like Mr. Magoo. Sorry, bear me a sec. So new highs being attempted on gold. New Zealand dollar CAD weekly range, 125, the weekly range put in on New Zealand dollar CAD. Canadian dollar and Swiss franc and the US dollar all having big moves. US dollar, look at this, Swiss franc. Wow, really pushing the Swissy. No movement on the yen though. When manually setting TP targets, how do you make it so the EA doesn't close out the trade, but still have it take trades if it runs in the opposite direction? So just don't set a TP in the EA. Just tell the EA not to take profit. So in the market reverse alerts EA, all you do is so there's two TPs in there. Obviously, if you're position trading, you won't use TP there at all. That'll be set to false anyway. So the only other way that the EA closes out positions is on your targets here. Yeah. So these under the basket trading settings, those are your profit targets for the baskets. And obviously you can have a basket of one. So if you take one trade and it goes your way, this is what will close it out. So close all when X money in profit, set that to 0. Closing profit at a percentage of ADR, set that to 0. Closing profit when X pips, set that to 0. So if everything there is set to 0, it literally will just take the trades and it will hold them forever. It will never get you out. So that's how you set manual. So everything I have is all set to 0 there. If you want to set it to a decent level, obviously I would use ADR and use something like 1 or 2 ADR. So if it gets a big, if during Asia, for example, while I'm asleep, we get a massive yen rally or something that takes something to 2 ADR and I'm asleep, I want the EA to get me out of it. Otherwise, I'll be setting TPs manually. You don't have to. Obviously, the EA can be used in any way, shape or form you want to, but I'm trading manually. So I'm monitoring everything manually. So pound Swiss, 175% of ADR. So that's how you do it. 175 ADR. Big move this is in the Swissy. Hamas launched missiles towards Tel Aviv. Israeli military rocket sirens sound in Tel Aviv and surrounding cities. Shelling hits Lebanese army observation in South Lebanon. Here we go. Look. See, this is why this is happening. This move. Iran foreign minister. Iran will continue efforts to end the Israeli war crimes. Yeah. So you've got Israel, UK, US, NATO. Yeah. You've got Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Yeah. It's a Middle Eastern war. This is why we didn't want Lebanon to get involved, because as soon as Lebanon's involved, gets involved. As soon as Iran gets involved, just a east-west conflict, isn't it? And it's all over a tiny little strip of land. Ridiculous. So this is why we're seeing this movement. It's escalating over there. So if there is a de-escalation over the weekend, Monday we'll be back where we started. Yeah. So all these movements that you're seeing, obviously, are likely to unravel. We'll get V-shaped recoveries on them as people put money into places and then take them back out again. Yeah. So it's like a bank. Oh dear, we're having trouble. Let's stick it in the bank. I need to spend it now. Let's withdraw it from the bank. That's why it moves up and down. Oil looks like it's rallying again as well. Again, conflict is good for oil pricing. Massively good. We are starting to find buyers out of this accumulation. UJ popping up and down, considering strong US. Looks like they're fighting. Yeah. Tom, cheers. I thought so. Just don't like adjusting the EA on my VPS too often. Mine's only set at 0.3 ADR. Might need to bump it up a bit. Yeah. You'll get out very quick with a third of an ADR target. Missed my exit. So basically, at the moment, we've got a hedge and a profit. So that's my P&L. Yeah, as you can see, it's kind of break even at the moment. I've got 850 banked from the DAX this morning. So I'm just thinking shut the whole lot and walk away at the moment. But this is it. It's either now or never, really. I'll give it another 5 minutes, see where it goes. Yeah, so yeah, up it a bit, or just use manual. It depends. If you can check your charts, yeah. So the beauty of position trading, and you'll see me doing it all the time, is I come into the live room twice a day. I'm keeping an eye on this all day. Every now and again, I'm looking at the P&L just to see if anything's moved. I can tell if the market's moved because I'm in most stuff most of the time. So if this suddenly flies up and that's all green, I can say, oh, oil's rallying. I'm long on oil. Yeah. But you only need to really do this twice, maybe 3 times a day. So if you get into new positions, just whiz through them a couple of times a day. What am I in? I'm in Aussie CAD. Okay, so I'm in Aussie CAD. I've got a long position on, which is taken by the EA. Where shall I put my TP? Stick your TP there. Aussie Swiss. I've got 3 on at the moment. TP's up there. So I'm going to adjust the TPs on these to roughly 50% of that. Actually, I'm going to put them up at that propulsion gap. Yeah. Right. So adjusting the TPs on that. There we go. Under that propulsion gap. Done. I haven't got to look at this now for 2 or 3 days. Don't have to look at it again because it's going to take days to get back up there, isn't it? So I'll look at it on Monday. I don't have to touch it. Aussie dollar, US dollar. Just got the 1 on. TP set under that propulsion gap. Have a look at that on Monday. Had Swiss. Propulsion gap target. Got 2 positions on that. Actually, now I've got 2 positions on that. I can adjust TP back into propulsion. Yeah, so I'll take that one off there. I'll take that one off there. Yeah, so instead of targeting that propulsion gap, I'm moving down into this one because my average is now here. So let's see if we can get a move up to there. Won't have to look at it again until Monday. So this all you're doing is you're literally looking at what you've got on every now and again, once or twice, and adjusting TPs. So you don't need to have the EA do the TP execution for you. If you can check this once or twice a day before you go to work and when you come home from work, you don't need to have the EA automatically get you out of positions. The EA will get you out of them. So let's say, for example, as Tom's just said, he's got it set to a third of an ADR. So when it gets to roughly there, Tom's EA will get him out because that's roughly a third of an ADR profit from his average. If it's going to get to there, it's probably going to get to there. But what I will also do, and you'll see me doing it a lot, is if price gets all the way up to there and then suddenly we get a candle like that, I will suddenly stick a trailing stop on it and then remove those. If we get a rally, then I'll just make more money on it. If we don't get a rally, I'll get out. But I'm not going to, if we get to there and it's that far away from my TP, I'm not going to let it disappear. So I will pay attention, and I'll know I need to pay attention because these will be big green numbers. And I'll be like, oh, why haven't I banked that yet? I want that down there. And I'll look at it and I'll be very, very shy of where my TP is. That's my trigger to go, right, let's do something about it. Let's put a trailer on it. Or worst case scenario, break even it, which I don't very often do. But Euro odd. Short on that one. TP set down there. Didn't know where to set that one this morning, so I just stuck it at ADR. Euro New Zealand. TP on that one is set in propulsion. Yep, so that's roughly 61.8 retracement I'm looking for. Yeah, and so on and so forth. So that's literally all I do. That's why I don't let the EA get me out. The problem is when the EA gets you out and you set, so let's say, for example, if you set a 0.5 ADR target, yeah, what's your upside limited to? 0.5 ADR. You will never make more than half an ADR profit on any position that you ever have. If you look at this chart now and go, right, if let's say, for example, it took a second position there, there's my first, I averaged to there, right? Half an ADR is there. I'm looking at this going, well, there's a propulsion there, there's a propulsion there. Why on earth would you get out at half an ADR? You could, but it's probably going to come down a bit further than that, isn't it? Yeah. So the advantage of doing this manually is you're going to make more money. The disadvantage of using the EA is you're limiting your upside, which isn't a bad thing because it does it all on autopilot. So it comes down to how much time you've got at the end of the day, doesn't it? It's all over the full, and it's all over the full land, Israel and Palestine. Don't know what that means, David. It's all over the full land, Israel and Palestine. That's what it's all over, yeah, all this. So the Swiss franc is having a massive rally because of religion, basically, isn't it? Not just the strip. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, it's not. Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, yeah, but it's not just over the Gaza Strip, is it? It's the whole thing. It's always over land. Every conflict has been over land or religion, and all the conflict over land has been caused by religion because the religious parties think they should have that bit. And yet we have countries like America where you can drive, and Australia. Yeah, I've been to Australia, spent months in Australia. Yeah, you can drive in Australia for a day and not see another human being. We've got plenty of bloody land, right? It's not as if we're short of it. It's just, you know, if you picked up everybody in Palestine and stuck them in the middle of the outback, you'd never see them again. There wouldn't be a problem over land, would there? Just obviously, it doesn't work that way. There's always a solution to a problem, isn't there? Like in the UK, we've got this place called the Isle of Wight in the UK. Little island just off the south of UK. Been there quite a lot. Not a particularly great place. If we moved everybody from the Isle of Wight that's nice over here and put all the criminals on the Isle of Wight, we'd never have a problem with prison populations. I've got all the answers. It's just the government won't listen to me. Super valuable info. What, the bit about the prisoners on the Isle of Wight or other stuff? I have quite a bit of time to work and at night to check the charts. So I definitely start manually setting TPs. Yeah. One of my mentors that taught me to trade, I had a problem with closing, need a secular state. Yeah. I had a problem with closing trades early, and it was a massive problem. But the problem wasn't closing trades early. The problem was I had too much time on my hands. So I'm just going to get out of this in a sec. So I'm just going to quickly set a TP trailer. So the problem was I had too much time on my hands. So what I would do is I would take a trade, yeah, and it would move in my direction, and then it would pull back, and I would exit. And the reason I exited was because I saw what was going on, and then I would get out of the trade, and it would just go like that, up to exactly where I thought it was going to go to. But I got out because I was watching the charts. So the solution was very, very simple. When you take a trade, minimize it. Yeah. If you can't look at it, you can't interact with it. Yeah. Same with your dashboard. Don't look at it. You now can't make any decisions based on what's going on in your P&L. Yeah. The best traders, the ones that follow strategies and make the most money, are people that work. And they find when they go not full-time, but get into trading more and try to make more money trading, their P&Ls drop. And the reason they drop is because what they used to do was get up, have breakfast, look at the charts, follow their strategy, and in half an hour place their trades and then go off to work. They might check at lunchtime and then they get home in the evening and go, oh, we've had 2.5 ADRs worth of movement on that. Close. I've made a fortune. What then happens is they go to work and they jack in their job. They get a part-time job so they can trade part-time. What they're then doing is watching the charts for 6 hours a day, and they're making bad decisions because they're seeing things that scare them out of the market, which they didn't see when they were full-time. And this is the beauty of position trading. It takes a day. You don't get into a trade in the morning and get out of a trade in the afternoon. There's virtually no trades. Every now and again, I might get one where you'll get in and all of a sudden you'll have a 125 ADR push and you'll be like, I'm out. It happens. It's happened in here before. It's rare, very rare. What happens normally is you have to wait 1, 2, 3 days for the position to play out because the banks take time to profit take. So if you're only checking it twice a day, you're going to catch the bigger part of the move. If you set a TP with an EA, the EA will get you out just as the move starts. But if you leave it, you'll get much more profit. It's leaving the upside to go. It does make a big difference. I'm fast losing the will to live with this. I'm going to get stopped out on that yet. I was putting that trailer on. I was anticipating this coming down and hitting TP and going to trail that second half. But what's actually happening is it's pushing back. Bear with me 1 sec. I'm just holding on to see if I get a TP on it. That's basically it. Anyway, we'll wait because it ain't going anywhere. Again, we've gone into pause mode. Do you still SC? What's SC? Don't know what that means. I was looking at your website and saw the quick trade button, EA. Yeah, I'm day trading right now. I'm just using a different EA. So I just basically changed the way I trade. But yeah, I mean, you could use the Price Action Toolkit trade with for scalping. It's just when I built this EA, this led me on to another EA I built, which has led me on to another EA, which tends to be what I do. I refine things over time. So the Price Action Toolkit was the missing part of the scalping. Basically, I haven't scalped for years. COVID hit, and about a year or so into COVID, probably about a year and a half after COVID, the markets all started to contract a lot and position trading became more difficult. So I went back to scalping and then I got into prop. Yeah, and I needed to scalp for prop. And I couldn't find any tools to actually allow me to scalp properly for prop because you can't, when you trade futures, you've got buttons you can press to just move this, do that, do that. You don't have that in MT4. So I built a set of tools, which is the Price Action Toolkit, which allows you to instantly press buttons and immediately just do stuff, which you need to do on the fly, quick, while you're scalping. And then I started scalping a specific strategy, which I learned years ago when I was stock trading, which led me on to the opening range breakout EA. So I built an EA specifically just to execute that strategy, which I still manually intervened with, which then led me on to doing more analysis, which led me on to the stock index hedge EA, which I'm now using, which is much more comfortable because it just gets you in to a single trade on an instrument rather than having to do loads of scalping intraday, which can lead to bad habits like over trading, which kills you. But yeah, I do still intraday trade. I do both. Come on. We're stuck, aren't we? There we go. Right, so if this NASDAQ can get this rally down to the lows, I'm going to shut this. Hence the trailer. Come on, a little bit more. S&P's dropping as well. Close. Okay, TP. Okay, NASDAQ. Closed. So 2,400 banked on the NASDAQ. 850 this morning on the DAX. So that's 3.2 on the day. And I've got $1,600 hedge running on the S&P. So what I'm going to do with the S&P, obviously I can close that out at any time and just walk away with the 1,500. But I will see if we get a run on this. So today, target to the downside is yesterday's low, which is just shy of ADR. So if we can get down to yesterday's low, I will exit the shorts, and any kind of pullback is going to get me out of it, probably with just a break even, which banks 3.2 on the day. If it just flip-flops around like this and doesn't get anywhere today, I'll just close out the hedge with a $1,600 loss, and that walks away with $1,500, $1,600. So we'll see where it goes. Unlikely, but if it rallies up to the upside, TP is going to be at yesterday's high, which is now ADR. So as we're that low there basically has created ADR there. So if we don't break that low and we just come back up to here, that is ADR high, which is yesterday's high. So basically either we're going to hit yesterday's low and I'm out, or yesterday's high and I'm out, or we're going to hedge it and just get out. So I will leave that running. I'm going to go get my hair cut. I'll come back and I'll see where we are when I get back. So yeah, unlikely in an hour we'll have gone. I mean, unless it collapses completely. Is this US dollar rallying? New Zealand dollar yen weekly range hit. This is more New Zealand dollar. This New Zealand dollar is getting absolutely killed again, look. Squeezing the crap out of it, aren't they? So there is not a rally on the US by the looks of things. US, look at this US dollar Swiss, look. Both really hammering today. So pound US dollar coming down, euro US dollar coming down, Aussie US coming down. So you can tell there's big strong movement on the US dollar. Positive US equals negative index. So this is why we're getting this drop on the indices at the moment. So if that US dollar continues to rally for the rest of the session, we'll be down there later. So if I can exit there, we get the limit orders triggered off of yesterday's low. As long as we get some kind of pullback, which is the distance of the pre-market range that was taken today, or rather the 5-minute range that I took today. If we can pull back that far, that gets me out with a break even on that one, which means I can walk away with the rest. So that's the plan. So we'll see how it goes. Certainly looks like it's collapsing at the moment, which is good. Shouldn't have taken that NASDAQ. I should have left that trailer in place, shouldn't I? But if I'd have known to leave the trailer in place, I'd have left the trailer in place. Mark, interesting hearing your history. Cool. Not that interesting. Yeah, so we'll see where we go. Downside on the NASDAQ, watch this area here, which is 5R just before ADR. ADR is basically that high. So you're going to find some pings from those levels. There we go. So I'll see how those go. Right, I'll update you in Telegram later as to what's happened on the NASDAQ. Sorry, the S&P this afternoon, but the others are all profit. So anything you need, let me know. I'll be in Telegram over the weekend. We'll see what happens over the weekend. If you can get flat on anything, Jesus, this is really collapsing today. Big strong run for the hills going on. If you can get flat on anything today, I'm not getting flat on anything today. Just do it if you can, because we could get some gaps over the weekend. We don't very often get gaps on Forex, but we don't very often have escalations in wars happening every weekend, do you? So depending on what happens this weekend, we might find when we wake up on Monday, there are some large gaps in the FX market. It could be gaps back in the opposite direction that we've just had, because if it, we know that the Israelis are going into Gaza this weekend. They've given the Gazans, the Palestinians, basically 24 hours, and then they're going to go and attack the north of the Gaza Strip. So we know there is a ground invasion going in this weekend. So that is going to be a lot of death and destruction, obviously. If that doesn't happen for any reason, if there is a last-minute ceasefire, or they go in and it gets called off and it all fizzles out over the weekend, all the moves we've seen going into the safe havens are going to undo this weekend. So you'll find it will have gaps back in the opposite direction. But we won't know, obviously, until Monday. So if you can get flat on stuff, it's probably worth it, because if it gaps in the opposite direction and we get a massive escalation, you're going to be stuffed. But there's nothing you can do about that. Yeah, it's not often you get things like this sort of kicking off, is it? So we had it with the Ukraine war. Yeah, you know what happened to oil in the Ukraine war. Yeah, so this is what tends to happen when you get a big conflict. I can't even see it. Yeah, so that's the Ukraine war. Yeah, normal price action, start of a conflict. Yeah, this could happen to any currency, any commodity, anything. Oil, gold, as we just seen today. Yeah, so normal price action, literally 1 week, you are an entire year's worth of movement. So, be careful. Keep your eyes peeled on what's going on with this news. Discuss the Gaza conflict with the Israeli ambassador in Moscow. So Russia talking to Israel. It's such a weird situation, isn't it? We're all against Russia at the moment, and yet Russia is talking to our ally. Just bizarre, isn't it? Yeah, we're backing these guys. We're fighting these guys. Yeah, these guys are talking to these guys as friends. What a weird loop. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So have a good weekend. Anything you need, let me know. I'll be in Telegram. Other than that, I'll be back tomorrow at no, I won't. I'll be back on Monday at 7:50 for the Frankfurt session. Brian's got a 7-digit broker he needs to figure out. Is there such a thing? I only build my products to go up to 6 digits because I haven't seen anyone that does 7. But if there is, it's like having somebody with 7 fingers. There's probably one out there somewhere, but you're unlikely to find them. So yeah, I'll be back on Monday at 7:50, at 2:20 on Monday afternoon for the New York session. I'll update you on what happens with the S&P later on today in Telegram. Looking at what might get a TP on that. We'll see. So have a good weekend, and I'll see you Monday. Have a good one.